Dear students, I am Dr. Shikha Pandey, Associate Professor from Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Today I will discuss about the Municipal Solid Waste Management Rule. So first of all, why this Municipal Solid Waste Management Rule is important and what is the reason to use this Municipal Solid Waste Management Rule? Because of the reason, the rapid population growth and urbanization in the developing countries, it will lead to proper generating enormous quantities of solid waste and consequent environmental degradation. This rapid population growth and this urbanization in the developing countries is taking towards the more generation of more solid waste, quantities of solid waste, and then consequent environment degradation. The waste is normally disposed in open dumps, creating nuisance and environmental degradation. So, what happened because of this rapid population growth, more urbanization in developing countries, and this will leads toward the generation of more solid waste and enormous quantity of solid waste. So then what happened? What people is doing? They are just open dump the solid waste to any place. Then solid waste causes a major risk to public health and the environment. This solid waste causes a major risk to public health and the environment because so that the management of solid waste is important in order to minimize the adverse effects that has been posed by their discriminate disposal. That's why the management of solid waste is much required, and it is important in order to minimize the adverse effects that will pose by their indiscriminate disposal also. So what is this solid waste? Solid waste can be defined as the unwanted matter that is generated by the society and that does not have any economic value. So waste that has been generated by the society and that will be not having any economic value from the first owner point of view is called as solid waste. So per capita waste generation rate in India is 0.25 to 2.5 kg per day. So solid waste management rule, what is this complete solid waste management? So it can be defined as a discipline, as a manner that is associated with the control of generation, storage, collection, then its transfer and transport, then again processing, disposal of solid waste material in a way that the best address the range of public health, in a way which will be address the range of public health, conservation, economics, aesthetic, engineering, and other environmental consideration. So all these points are mixed in this solid waste management. All the points that will be related with the solid waste, either from its generation to its storage, collection, transport and transfer, processing of and disposal of solid waste in a way that is going to best address the range of public health, and then its conservation. It will be economically benefit also, aesthetic also, engineering and other environmental consideration. This is the types of solid waste, like how many types of solid waste will be there. So solid waste in total we will divide it in the municipal solid waste, MSW, that is a general waste that is coming from our household activity, from a residential area. Industrial waste, the waste which is coming from the industries only. Hazardous waste are the waste that is coming from the maybe industry, sometime from the hospital also. And those who are hazardous in nature, like having a very high toxicity or having very high acidic nature, like that, and reactive also. Same biomedical waste that is generated from the hospitals or nursing home or any research centers. Agriculture waste is the waste that is coming from the agriculture activity. Next is the mining waste. Mining waste is coming from the mining activity. So we'll discuss about the sources of solid waste. So solid waste are being produced since the beginning of civilization. The disposal of solid waste has been increased due to the rapid development in industrialization and urbanization. So that's why this solid waste will be there. From the beginning of civilization, the disposal of solid waste can be increased due to rapid development in industrialization, urbanization, and population growth also. So population growth also is responsible for the solid waste generation. Rapid development, industrialization, and these are the factors, some factor which is responsible for the more solid waste generation. Point one is the high population density. Because population density, increasing population, intensive land use of residential, commercial, and industrial activity. So more use, extensive use, exploitation of residential, commercial, or industrial activities. So next is the definition of this MS solid waste. So MSW waste, like municipal solid waste, it is commonly known as the garbage that consists of some packing materials, furnitures, clothing, bottles, food scrap, newspaper, some home appliance, paint, batteries. And municipal solid waste is basically arise from the residential quarter and commercial markets like hotels, garage, some institution, public places, open area, street, parks, playground, etc. So these are the different things from where this municipal solid waste is arising. Now we will deal with in details about this solid waste. Food waste is the waste which is organic in nature. Organic waste. For organic waste, we will do the composting. So organic waste is the waste that is basically generated from the domestic sources like some hotels, markets, some fruit market, vegetable market, or residues resulting during the handling, preparation, or some fruit peel will be there. Fruit peel, vegetable peel. So these are the different categories of municipal solid waste. Next is the rubbish waste. Rubbish is all those waste which is combustible waste or non-combustible waste. So combustible waste are those waste that can be burned easily. Combustible and non-combustible. Combustible can be burned easily and non-combustible cannot be burned. So in combustible waste, they will contain some papers, cardboard, torn clothes, and non-combustible are like some glass, crockery, aluminium tins and cans, ferrous metal, some construction waste like that. Next is the construction and demolition waste. So this, for this waste we will prefer landfill also. Landfill. This type of waste we will prefer reuse and recycling. Reuse and recycle. Construction and demolition waste, landfill will be preferred. In case of a special waste like some street sweeping, special waste are those waste those which will be coming from the street sweeping, roadside litter, drainage debris, dead animals, and abandoned vehicle parts. Next is the sewage and sludge waste. Sewage and sludge waste, this will be like some water material will be there. So we have already discussed about all these types of waste. Now I will discuss about this special waste, the waste that is coming from the street sweeping, roadside litter. What to do with this waste and what are the different methods for disposal of this special waste. So industrial waste, we will discuss about in details about the industrial waste. Industrial waste will coming from the activities like chemical industries, metal and mineral processing industries. Radioactive waste are generated by nuclear power plant. We will discuss in detail about this radioactive waste. Some nuclear waste. Thermal power plant produces fly ash in large quantity. Chemical industry will produce waste which is hazardous and toxic material. Other industries like if they are producing packing materials like rubbish, organic waste, acid, alkali, scrap metals, rubber, plastic, paper, glass, wood, oil, paints, dyes, etc. Hazardous waste, as we know that the waste which will contain some hazardous properties is categorized as hazardous waste. So it is this type of solid waste or combination of waste that poses a substantial danger now or in future to human beings or plant or animal life, and it cannot be handled or disposed. So disposal synergies from hospital are specific sources that can be identified uh, among as like of hazardous solid waste. Ignitable material, those which is very ignitable, means which is catch fire very easily. Those material which can catches fire very easily. Next is the corrosive materials that will corrode any hard surface. Corrode any hard surface. Reactive materials like that will undergoes rapid reaction with water or other substances and releases some toxic gases. Toxic materials are like some toxic chemicals like lead or arsenic. Come to the next slide. Biomedical waste. So this type of waste that is generated during the diagnosis, treatment, immunization, research, or on animal drug testings, it consists of human anatomical waste and animal waste. So the waste that is generated from the diagnosis process, treatment process, immunization process, and it will basically consist of some animal waste and anatomical waste. It also includes some materials like sharp anatomical waste, body fluids, culture of microbe, syringes, swabs, bandages. It may be highly infectious, and this should be proper care should be taken to dispose it off. So that's why this solid biomedical waste is very dangerous, because it will contain some human tissue, some some cotton syringes that will be used for the operation of some dangerous disease. Now due to this COVID-19, the gloves, PPE kit, all are coming under this biomedical waste. So these are very dangerous waste, and that should be disposed properly, and proper care should be taken during disposing of this type of waste. Effects of solid waste. So garbage dumping will attract flies. It will attract flies. Open dumping of garbage will attract flies. Then rats and pigs. Rat and pigs, and that roam and feed on garbage and transmit disease like some brain fever and pigs to human and plagues from the rat. Solid waste what may choke the drains and pits, and then it will be results in water logging, which in turns results in breeding of mosquitoes, and then causes the malaria and dengue in human being. Solid waste will choke the drains and the gully pits also, and this will result in the water logging condition. So in this what happen, water logging condition will be there. So water logging condition will be there. So in because of this water logging, breeding of mosquito will be there. And it will be causing dengue and malaria. Dengue and malaria. Noxic fume will be there. Thus noxic fumes are the harmful gas. They may pollute air due to the burning of waste products, especially some plastic containers. So noxious fuel are toxic in nature. So much toxic in nature. Because of this burning, it is causing some asthma problem or suffocation problem. So obnoxious, like very unpleasant condition will be there. Unpleasant odor pollutes the air due to decomposition of organic solid waste. So air pollution will also because of this solid waste. Next is the municipal solid waste. This will heap up on the road due to improper disposal system. Every year, many tons of solid waste is dumped along the highways, thereby spoiling the landscape. Then it will be spoiling the landscape appearance of an area of land. Urban and industrial solid waste often contain a variety of toxic chemicals. Urban and some industrial solid waste that will contain a variety of toxic chemicals that may enter into the food chain and affect both the terrestrial and aquatic organism. So it will affect both the terrestrial and aquatic organism. Terrestrial and aquatic organisms. So this is the main hierarchy which will involve with this solid waste management. First is it's a generation, then collection, generation, then next is the collection, next is the transportation, segregation, then final disposal. So this management will involve the generation of waste, then mode of collection, transportation of solid waste, segregation of waste, and disposal techniques. So collection of solid waste may involve lots of steps that is included in this picture. You can see that first is the disposal, then again transfer and transport. So after disposal, some collection, transportation steps are there. Then loading into the vehicles, then after loading it into the vehicles, and then temporary storage in containers. So in some containers, temporary storage of solid waste. So to avoid the solid waste, to reduces the use of solid waste, some reduce, reuse, and recycle of raw material will be there. 3R is there. So in this 3R, we have three concepts: reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce is like uses of raw material is reduced, the generation of waste is also get reduced. Reuse, refillable containers that are discarded after use can be reused, and rubber rings can be made from discarded cycle tubes, and this is going to reduce the waste generation during the manufacture of rubber bands. So the refillable containers are there that are discarded after use, and this can be reused. Rubber rings can be made from discarded cycle tubes, and this reduces the waste generation during manufacturing of rubber bands. So recycling is the reprocessing of discarded material into some new useful product. So for this, old aluminium can be recycled, and glass bottle are melted and then recast into new cans and bottles. Preparation of cellulose from the papers. Papers can be reused for the preparation of cellulose. Preparation of automobiles body and construction materials from the steel can. So in this way, this 3R will helps in the save money, energy, raw materials, and reduces pollution also. Next, we will discuss about the landfill. Landfill is the engineered way of disposing on the solid waste to an area. So the solid waste are placed in the sanitary landfill, in which alternate layer of 80 centimeter thick refuse is covered with some selected earth fill of 20 centimeter thickness. The selected earth fill is like it is either humus, it is either a compost or soil. Compost or soil. After 2-3 years from the landfill, what happened? The solid waste is going to reduce as the volume will be shrink by 25 to 30%, and the land is used for the parks, roads, and some small buildings also. This is most common and cheapest methods for the waste disposal, and it is most employed in Indian cities. So for every Indian cities on the outskirts of the city, this landfill has been made. So on the landfill, The waste should be disposed of. The waste should be placed in the trenches or in the cell, so that after 2-3 years the volume will be shrink and it will be settled down. Some chemical reaction will start inside the landfill. Sometimes aerobic or anaerobic process starts decomposition, and decomposition process will be there. So this is the very most common and cheapest methods of waste disposal, and it is mostly employed in many Indian cities. We'll discuss about the advantage and disadvantage that is related with the landfill. So advantage is simply simple. It is a simple and economical. Segregation of waste is not required. Landfill area can be reclaimed and used for other purpose, and it will convert the low-lying marshy wasteland into the useful area. Natural resources are returned to the soil and recycled again. Mm, uh, Disadvantage is like it will require large area of land, and land availability is away from the towns. Transportation costs are high. Leads to bad odor if landfill is not properly managed. So this methane gas will be produced from the landfill. Methane gas will produce. So this methane will is the reason for the bad odor of gas. Landfill area will be a source of mosquitoes and flies, and it will require application of insecticides and pesticides at a regular interval. Landfill area is the sources of mosquitoes and flies, and it requires the application of insecticides and pesticides at a regular interval. It sometimes it will be cause of fire hazards also, due to the formation of methane into during the wet weather or rainy season. Next is the incineration. So incineration is a method of municipal solid waste, like it will be burning in the furnace called as incinerators. So combustible substance such as rubbish, garbage, dead organisms, non-combustible matters such as glass, propylene and metals are separated before feeding to the incinerator. The heat which is producing from the incinerator during the burning of refuse is used in the form of steam power for generation of electricity through the turbines. This is an example of waste to fuel. This incinerator. The heat which is produced by the burning of waste in an incinerator during the is used in the form of steam power for the generation of electricity through the by moving the turbines. So municipal solid waste, which is generally wet and will be having high calorific value, so therefore it has to be dried first before the burning. Waste is dried in a preheated, from where it is taken to a large incinerating furnace, which is called as destructor, that can be incinerate about 100 to 150 tons per year. So waste that will be generally wet and having a high calorific value, it has to be dried first before the burning. So before burning it should be dried, and then waste is dried in preheated, and this pre-treatment will be required. And this preheated, where it is taking to a large incinerating furnace called destructor, that can incinerate about 100 to 150 tons per hour. Here we will discuss about some of the advantage and disadvantage of this incinerator. Advantage is like residue is only 20 to 25%. 20 to 25% of residue will be there. These are caused by clinkers after the requirement treatment. It will requires very little space. Cost of transportation is not high if the incinerator is located within the city limit. Safest from hygienic point of view, incinerator plant of 3000 tons per day capacity can generate 3 megawatt of power. Disadvantage is that it is a high cost. Cost is high, and it will require skilled labors. Labors. Formation of smoke, dust, and ashes needs further disposal, and that may causes the air pollution also. So it is causing air pollution also. Next is the method of composting. So in this method, in the composting method, organic waste should become organic waste is converted to the compost. So, converted into fertilizer by some biological action, biological reaction. Separated compostable waste is dumped in underground trenches in layer of 1.5 meter and finally covered with earth of 20 centimeter and left for the decomposition. Within 2 to 3 days, biological action will start. Then organic matter is destroyed by some actinomycetes bacteria and lot of heat is producing. This is going to increase the temperature of the compost by 75 degrees Celsius and the refuse is finally converted to brown colored odorless mass which is called as humus. Humus is the outcome of the composting process. So here you can see this is the picture of composting bins. Bins will be there which will be filled with some vegetable peels, fruit peels, all which is organic waste, only organic waste. Then after adding into the bins, microbial action will start. So microbial activity will start. These microbes will convert these organic substances into a compost. They will start degrading this process and we will get a fresh compost. Here is some advantage and disadvantage related with the composting process. So advantage is like that the manure added to soil increases water retention and ion exchange capacity of soil. These methods can be used to treat several industrial solid waste. Manure can be stored, thereby reducing the cost of disposing waste. Recycling can be done. Non-combustible have to be disposed separately and the technology has not caught up with the farmers and hence does not have an assured market price. So those waste which will be non-combustible that cannot undergo this composting process that should be disposed of separately. And the technology has not much readily available for the farmers and hence it does not have any assured market value. So this is the end of the lecture. Next class I will discuss about in details about this solid waste management handling rules, why these rules has been made and what is the requirement of these rules. So thank you for today's lecture. If you have any query, if you have any question regarding this lecture, you can write in the comment box or you can directly mail me to my given mail ID shikha shikha@gmail.com. Thank you for today's lecture.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.